Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sara.
And I'm Allie.
And we are coming off a really big WSL week, headed into a very big WSL weekend.
Yeah, if you are a women's football fan, this has been the week for you, and it's about to be another brilliant week for you. Like, I'm pumped.
I'm so pumped. I got very overwhelmed this morning with excitement. I was just deep into my coffee enough that the caffeine was hitting, and I realized how big of a weekend it was. And then here in the US, March Madness is starting too, and I was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, she got very excited and overused the exclamation marks.
Yeah. I may have been all over Twitter about it. I think I put out one tweet that was just all capitals.
So first up, we're going to talk about WSL because we absolutely have to. What a weekend it was, both at the top of the table, the bottom of the table.
Middle of the table.
Everybody was up and down. It was fantastic. So the first game we've got to talk about is Everton-Leicester, which was on Saturday the 12th. It was a 5-goal thriller between two teams that are at the bottom of the table. It was controversial. It was quick. It was pacey. It was feisty. It was a game to watch.
I've got to say, it was a fun game in terms of there were a lot of goals being scored. It was pretty back and forth, fast paced. But I don't want to come in here being negative Nancy, and I'm really not trying to. And I've also got to say, as fun as that part was, it was still very clearly a bottom of the table clash. I mean, all of Everton's goals came from really terrible defensive blunders on Leicester City's part. And one of Leicester City's goals came from a horrible goalkeeping mistake on Everton's part. So, I mean, such a fun game to watch. And also, these were two bottom of the table teams, not to state the obvious.
Yeah, as a neutral, it was a great game to watch. I'm sure if you're a Leicester City fan, it was painful. There was some great moments, but I think both teams did look a bit ropey. I think, despite the scoreline, Leicester were the stronger team out of the two. Everton just looked like they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, there were a couple moments where Everton were stringing passes together, really quick, one-touch, wonderful passes. And it was just a small window into the Everton we knew from last season. And we've had this discussion, Allie, about why Everton has fallen so far. And just to spend a moment on it, because they are disjointed as a unit and as a team, and it comes through on the field.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They are the first WSL team to go through 3 managers in one season, which never happens. We lost Willie Kirk in the beginning, and then they had the French ex-Lyon manager, and then he went recently, and they've now got an interim manager. And it just shows, there is no consistency. It doesn't feel like they're a team. It's a pure and utter case of 11 individuals on a pitch.
It really is, and it's really such a shame too. It's almost a waste of talent, to be honest, because you look at this Everton squad and the names that they have here that you can list, Turner, Christensen, Dolly, Duggan. It's just a bit of a shame, and I certainly hope that they can find some consistency in a manager who can bring in 1 or 2 players, because I really do think that 1 or 2 extra players, some time to gel, and Everton is back competing towards the top of the table.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that I just hate all captains, but I'm not convinced as Christensen as a captain.
I agree.
I'm just not. I've seen her captain now twice in person, and you don't hear her. She's not a very vocal captain. She's not organising her team. The player I hear the most? I hear Duggan the most. She's the one that's screaming at players. McKeever, as goalkeeper, is screaming at players to get in position and stuff like that. Christensen is a very silent player, which as a captain is not what you want.
I'm not really one to usually come in and criticize the choice of a captain, because at the end, while it does have an effect on the team at the end of the day, there's so many factors. But I really do think that Everton could benefit from a change up in leadership on the field. That is for sure. But on the other side of the pitch, we have seen Leicester City go from us thinking they're about to get sent right back down to the championship to they're sitting pretty, definitely out of relegation territory, in my opinion, and they are playing better and better with every single game. They obviously didn't pick up any points on this. Everton won 3-2. There was Everton's final third goal that went in. potentially could have been offsides. This could have given Leicester City back a point. Everton would have taken only a point instead of 3. Allie, how did you feel about that goal?
Yeah, it was one of those things that it was very, I would say, dicey, because if you look at the position of the player, again, it was a Leicester City bad defensive error, could have basically been an own goal. But I think what is causing so much controversy is the fact that the lino gave it as offside. The Leicester players were calling for it to be offside. Everton didn't celebrate because they thought it was offside. And it wasn't until Duggan ran to the ref and the ref was like, no, pointing back to the centre spot that she'd given it, that they started celebrating. And you can't blame VAR for that one. So I do think it was on the line. I do think it was offside. I do think that it was a fine line, fine margin. And Leicester are going to be fuming at that, because if it had been, if them and Birmingham had been closer like they were at midpoint of this season, that could have sent them back down. They're lucky that they've managed to get, not just lucky, but they've managed to get some wins under their belt. And
well, I was going to say, I mean, luckily, Leicester City is, it looks like Birmingham City is going to go down and Leicester City is not. I think all that really matters in terms of this for Leicester City is that they don't take this mentally and emotionally as like a dagger to the heart kind of loss, because that's what could actually drive them to the bottom, like even closer to the bottom of the table. Otherwise, you know what? It happens. I actually didn't catch that. The center ref has full authority to be like, no, I saw it better than my assistant referee. It's a goal, period, the end. So I guess as long as Leicester City don't take that as an emotional weight, then no harm, no foul. Moving from one potentially offside goal to another, we're not going to touch on the Manchester United Reading game, but I do have to use that as a transition and say that I don't think that goal was offside. Although, we weren't going to talk about it, but and we don't have to spend a long time on it, but I do want to highlight a player and highlight Reading for a second, because unfortunately we haven't gotten to spend a lot of time on them this season because they've been so middle of the table. And I just really need to call out a player that I think is just the core of this team and so integral. And, we talk about players that don't get call-ups that should, and her name should have been on the list that I mentioned, and that's Rowe. She is absolutely incredible. I love watching Reading because I love watching her. She is not only tactically so sufficient on the field, but you can tell that she is the emotional core of that team, and it is an absolute pleasure to watch.
Yep, no, absolutely. And also the way she's linking up with Deanna Rose is beautiful. Deanna Rose is such a young talent player. It's just a beautiful thing to watch.
And we love a forward combo whose names complement each other.
Exactly.
KerrKirby, RoweRose.
Exactly.
I mean, it's written in the cards. It's fate, everybody. It's meant to be. All right, moving on from United Reading, we need to spend a moment on Tottenham versus Manchester City, because this game has a lot of impact on who gets that third place spot. A tie between these two would have been really beneficial to United, but that is not what happened. City ended up coming away 1-0 against Tottenham, getting those 3 points. They now sit with a game in hand, only 2 points behind Tottenham, and a game in hand, 5 points behind United. So, I mean, they've just put themselves in the running with those 3 points. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. What a difference from the beginning of the season when we were woe-betide Man City. Something's kicked on.
Yes and no. Yes, something has kicked on, but we said in last week's episode, and I'm going to say it again because it was the same type of effort from Manchester City. Both of these teams played very classic to their form, and we'll come on to Tottenham in a moment, but what I mean by that from Manchester City is, same with last week, this was an individual effort. Manchester City could not score by playing with each other. They were making, frankly, terrible decisions in the final third. I thought that was their biggest problem, always looking for a pass out wide when they've got the ball in the middle of the goal. And anybody who's played soccer knows if you're in the middle of the goal, that is the more dangerous area. They're trying to play it out wide at that time, making bad decisions in the final third in terms of passes. And so what do they start resorting to? How did they score? Lucy Bronze makes an individual sprint run, uses her speed, uses her pace to bypass defenders, lays the ball off, and then they score. So while Manchester City is moving up in the ranks, I don't necessarily think that they as a team have what it takes to be, I guess, to play as a cohesive team against the top teams and really win. So I don't necessarily see them pulling into third.
No, to be honest, I do think it's going to be their rivals, Manchester United. I think United have more of that cohesion. Like, you can see more of a team feel. It was such a scrappy game. Like, it wasn't pretty, and I don't think football has to be pretty, but at the same time it was just a frustrating watch to watch as a neutral, because both sides were just very cagey. I think at the very beginning, I think they both knew that there was something big on the line, and they were both very cagey, and that just led to really stupid passes that, like, they could barely keep possession. Like, either of them couldn't string two passes together. It was painful. And then, like you said, it was a Lucy Bronze sprint and even then it was because it ricocheted off of Becky Spencer and landed at Caroline Weir's feet that she got the goal. Like, it wasn't even a Caroline Weir wonder goal that we're used to.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think to that point, what I would like to see from Tottenham, like you said, they both came off a little cagey. I would have loved to see some fight from Tottenham before Manchester City scored the goal. And like I said, this is true to form to both teams. Tottenham likes to play very tactical defense and take their counters and play very direct. I would love to see a Tottenham next season that has added like one more element, whether it's a center midfielder who can possess more or a top-notch forward who can really put the goals away, because that is what they're missing. You look at their goal differential, and honestly, Tottenham is sitting where they are because they only have 12 goals against. They've only scored 19 goals on the season. So what they need to add, I think, to bring them that one step further is that final dimension that will allow them to come out on the front foot.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because like there are some games with Tottenham, and I think they do it more for like lower end teams, is they have a really good high press. They do. Like, they have a really good high press. But when it comes to teams that have beat them previously or are in a higher rank, they do that cagey sort of park the bus and then we will come out on the counter. And it doesn't work with a team like Man City, because like we've seen, like they've got the individuals that will pounce on that and, you know, silly mistakes. I do have to shout out Ashley Neville. We've been talking about Tottenham. Always, you know.
She came out with such energy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you want, basically, if Tottenham could clone Ashley Neville and have like 11 Ashley Nevilles, they would be flying, because Ashley Neville was that whole, like, that gumption, that spit, that fire to really push Tottenham on, and we didn't see that from anybody else.
I totally agree. She really has propelled them to where they are, and that's not taking anything away from anybody else, obviously. We know it's a team game, but she came out with fire under her butt, basically, and she was going into all of the challenges. You could tell she wanted it. She wasn't there for the 1 point. She was there for the 3 points, and that's the kind of thing that we love to see.
I do think, however, Tottenham have been victim to. One of their biggest goal scorers was Kit Graham, and then unfortunately she got injured back in November. She went down and has torn something in her leg, and that is a missing ingredient. They haven't quite got the backup striker.
All right, moving into our final game that we're going to chat about. I don't think that we necessarily have to talk about this whole game. I think everybody's going to know when I say we only need to talk about the final minute. We're chatting Chelsea Aston Villa / I fall more and more in love with Emma Hayes and Sam Kerr every single week. I can't help it.
Of course you do.
I'm like holding on to my Arsenal bandwagon for dear life, because I'm just like being pulled towards the Chelsea bandwagon so much right now. And I can't do it, but it might happen, because my love for these women is unmatched. It is unparalleled, and I can go on a rant about it, but you should probably cut me off.
Yeah, so Chelsea Aston Villa on Sunday the 13th, and Villa held Chelsea to a 0-0 draw for 92 minutes. 92 minutes. First off, as much we're going to bang on about Sam Kerr, don't you worry, Chelsea fans. But first off, let's shout out Hannah Hampton, because Hannah Hampton played out of her skin and had the game of her life.
Which is saying something, because she has had an incredible season.
Yep, absolutely, like both for club and country. Because seriously, the shots that Chelsea had during the game, Hannah Hampton kept Villa in it up until the 92nd minute. And to be honest, there was nothing she could have done about that Sam Kerr beauty. Like, absolutely nothing.
There was nothing to be done. Absolutely not.
First off, it was an assist from their goalkeeper. It was such a beautiful long ball, fell to the feet of Sam Kerr, and bang, it was just perfectly hit, and it was just one of her best goals, I think.
I mean, not to be cheesy, but this is why we love this game. Like, the fact that happened, and then the joy and the cohesion in that team, and just the pure elation that they were all showing and love for each other. It's literally why we all love this game. And I know that hurt like hell for Aston Villa fans, and that sucks, but I hope that they can also look at that and be like, that was a beautiful moment for soccer. And I mean, what a beautiful image that was. I already made it our cover photo on Twitter.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Though I have to also point out, this is probably one of my favourite facts, Sam Kerr has been booked twice. Once for pushing a pitch invader over and kicking them off the pitch, and the other one was for taking a shirt off.
That just makes me love her more. It just makes me love her more. All right, let's move on. We are going to go around the world, around the world.
So we're going to start off with north of the border and Scotland. First place Glasgow City took down third place Celtic on Sunday with a 2-1 win. Meanwhile, second place Rangers handled their own business, beating Hamilton 4-0. Currently, Glasgow City sit just 1 point ahead of Rangers, but Rangers do have 2 games in hand.
Over to Mexico. This table is arguably the most competitive table in the whole world right now. Only 5 points separate Monterrey at number 1 and Pachuca at number 5. On Sunday, Guadalajara beat America 2-1, a huge 3 points that catapulted Guadalajara to second place and left America in fourth. Apertura champions Tigres sit in third, just 1 game behind Guadalajara, with also 1 game in hand.
Now we go back to Europe. In Germany, it is a race between Bayern and Wolfsburg in the Frau Bundesliga. Wolfsburg sit 2 points behind Bayern with 1 game in hand. The two scheduled to face off on April the 3rd in a match that could decide the league.
Over to Australia, the land down under to the A-League. For anybody who does know how these playoffs work, please hit us up on Twitter, because we understand the basic structure, but the details are slightly confusing, but let's get into it. Where we are with the A-League, a wild semifinal featured Sydney versus Melbourne City, in which Melbourne City was awarded a red card and Sydney took the victory 4-2. Melbourne Victory, not to be confused with Melbourne City, took down Adelaide United 2-1 in an elimination game. Now, Melbourne City and Melbourne Victory will face off on Sunday, and the winner will meet Sydney in the final.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
And I'm just going to throw it over to Chris, but you can't talk about the other Mewis sister.
You can't throw it to me and say, don't talk about Christy Mewis. That's not how it works.
What is he supposed to say?
What am I supposed to say? Oh, wait, I know what I'm supposed to say. Let's talk about the greatest acquisition being Gotham acquiring Crashland. And
we've already had this debate, though. Like, Tim and I don't think that was actually a great move. I'm only happy about it because I'm in New York.
I'm happy about it because then I can continue to post fire fits on our WOSO Twitter, and they will always involve Crashland walking in at Gotham. So for me, awesome. But no, I think the Christy Mewis acquisition is a big deal for Gotham. So, but we'll talk about that probably later in this episode.
That was a brief clip from our full in-depth Challenge Cup preview that is up on Patreon now. We break down all divisions by team, make our predictions, and go in depth on each squad. As you just heard, it's me, Allie, Chris, Tim, what we call the hashtag NWSL crew, and it's a super fun, in-depth breakdown. So if you want to hear more on that, go to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/TheWoso Show and sign up. It's only £6 a month for amazing content like that, y'all. And to support the show, that's basically just supporting women's soccer, right? And women's sports.
Yep, no, absolutely. And can I just say, as a Brit, it's great to listen to because it gives you a full breakdown of how it all works, which I think is a big deal. So definitely, guys, hit us up on Patreon.
Well, speaking of, we are going to do our own smaller, abbreviated Challenge Cup preview right now because Challenge Cup kicks off on Friday, people. We are back. We are rolling. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, let's talk briefly about how this structure is set up because it is different than all other years because we have more teams than all other years.
Yes, which is very exciting. I'm very excited by this. More matches, more play. What more can you want?
I was going to let you do the structure, but then I realized that it would probably be easier for me to.
Yep.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, there are 3 divisions, 4 teams in every division, and it's just like a tournament. Every team will play each other twice, and then the top teams from each division advance to the semifinals, plus the second place team with the most points. So we'll get 4 teams out of there. They'll all play each other. We'll get a final. End of story. So let's break it down, Allie. We're going to get right into it. We've got 3 divisions. Which one of these do you think is the hardest division to advance from?
I'm going to go with Division A. So very quickly, that's Gotham, North Carolina, Orlando, and Spirit. Just because, not including Orlando, the 3 teams there are so evenly matched. They've each got their own like pivotal points. Like Washington Spirit, we saw what they could do in the main season last season. North Carolina are a bit bitty at the moment, but they like competition, like cup wise, and also Gotham are a beautiful team to watch. So I think Division A is going to be your hardest one.
See, I actually see that division as being easier to get out of because of the rule that the second place team with the highest points gets out. North Carolina, in my opinion, is really not going to come out strong in this Challenge Cup. They were fraught with internal turmoil. They lost the core of their team in Mewis, in Williams, in Hamilton, and I really don't think that they're going to be able to compete with Spirit or Gotham. And Orlando as well has lost quite a bit of their team. So when I'm looking at that division, I see 2 strong teams and 2 teams that will probably get walked over by those other teams. So I actually think that the hardest division is going to be Division B. That's Angel City, OL Reign, Portland Thorns, and San Diego Wave. I mean, because I look at this and I don't actually anticipate Portland doing too much. Angel City's a huge question mark for me. OL is an incredible team. San Diego, I think, is going to be absolutely incredible. Shout out Casey Stoney. But I think that when we're talking about teams that are most evenly matched, this division might end up with the most ties and thus be the hardest to get out of.
I like your thinking.
Thank you.
I think you're wrong, but I like your thinking.
Mark it. Let's see who's right.
Right, so we're going to go now to teams that we think are going to do well, or should do, like based on previous performance. So, who's on your list? Who's your pick?
I think you're totally right about Gotham and Washington Spirit. I mean, Washington Spirit have not lost anybody from when they won the entire league last year. You look at their roster and it's just big name after big name. Trinity Rodman, Kelly O'Hara, Ashley Hatch, Ashley Sanchez, Andy Sullivan. I could keep going and I won't. They are so strong. And I think Gotham is also going to be a top contender. Adding Christy Mewis to their already very strong core. I think those two teams plus OL Reign, those are my top 3 teams that I think are going to do really well. I'm going to toss in San Diego and Kansas City because I think people are going to sleep on them. New team, and people are sleeping on Kansas City already anyways. Kansas City, Sam Mewis, Kristen Hamilton, Lynn Williams, I think that they're going to come out firing.
Yeah, my top picks are Gotham. I think they showed what they could do at the end of last season, and they've only just had time to grow and strengthen. And I'm also going to shout out Washington as well. I think they're my top 2. I think Washington again have got such a core group of players. We saw what they could do last season. They're very competitive. And they can only just grow from this. So those are my 2. Gotham and Washington.
They becoming the new Carolina Courage? Like, is Washington Spirit about to become North Carolina Courage? Are they about to... I mean, it looks like they've built a dynasty. You look at that core team, and it's like looking at the old North Carolina team.
I thought you was going to say because everybody hates them. I
don't think everybody hates them, but I think that they will now after they won. One more championship and everybody's going to hate them. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I think that they might be on track to become the next North Carolina. They may be the next dynasty here. All right, moving from teams we expect to do well to teams who we unfortunately do not expect to do well. This is a pretty clear one to me, unfortunately. Who do you think?
So the one that we're going to have to say is Orlando.
I'm sorry, Orlando fans.
I do. I have a soft spot for Orlando. I do, but...
We only want good things for you, especially because you almost had it in the Challenge Cup last year, and then everything just disintegrated, and I'm so sorry.
And that's it. That's the thing, is that they've just disintegrated, and they lost a lot of key players. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of turnover. Yeah, they've had a lot of turnover in management. To be honest, we want them to do it because I want them to do it for Marta, because we all love Marta.
And Sydney Leroux.
Here's
the thing. I think Sydney Leroux is on the verge of a call-up to the national team if Orlando plays better. And they won't, but I just think that because Orlando's been kind of forgotten about, no matter how well Sydney Leroux plays, it's kind of overlooked and overshadowed.
So Orlando is the big one for me, and I'm going to also be controversial. I'm going to say Portland. I think Portland are been decimated over everything that's happened, rightly or wrongly, especially with their management. They've lost some key players. You know, Haran's gone over to France now, like her all over. She was pivotal to Portland.
Mm-hmm. And Crystal Dunn is pregnant.
Yeah, Crystal Dunn is pregnant. They've got, a couple of, really solid players in Brune and Sinclair. But, no, they're not the team they once were. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just crash out in the group stages.
Yeah, and we had a really great discussion about this on the Patreon too, so everybody should go check that out if you want to hear more about Portland. But, Mark Parsons leaving. They're left with a lot of veteran players mixed with a lot of young players, and not in the good way. Is how I would describe this.
Yeah, there's no cohesion whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm also going to call out, I agree with you. Portland, just because they're Portland, could, battle OL Reign pretty well. But other than that, I totally agree with you. And I'm going to add in, we talked about North Carolina. I don't think they're going to do well. And also always the bridesmaid, never the bride, Chicago, I don't even think is going to get to be the bridesmaid this year. Talk about a team that is also fraught with internal turmoil. I unfortunately, we have to keep bringing that up, but an organization that is, and a team that lost a lot of key players and has a lot of key players injured as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Though this is more the fun part, the wildcard teams that could either rise to great heights or just crash and burn.
I've got 2 teams for this. And this is quite literally why I love both of these teams too, because they are totally these wildcard teams, and I can see them both just beasting all over this Challenge Cup and making everybody go like, oh my God, what's happening over there? Houston and Louisville. Houston, we know, can do great things. They did lose Christy Mewis, but they did add in Maria Sanchez, who came over from La Liga MX. She came from Tigres. She's going to be a really exciting player to watch. And Houston has a history of winning the Challenge Cup, as we know. # Rachel Daly coming here. And just don't sleep on Louisville. They're building a really great thing. We've talked a lot about in the Patreon how when cities and organizations pour money into the team and they invest in the team, like Louisville is, like Kansas City is, good things happen and great things are going to happen in Louisville. Also, their kits are fire.
That's the only reason. I'm not so sure about Louisville. I do agree with Houston. I think Houston are a really competitive side. You've got Razza Daly, you've got Jane Campbell, you've got, Brie Vasali. They've got lots of firecracker players that will either really gel together and are just going to give you such a performance and absolutely demolish the opposition, or it can crash and burn because they don't quite communicate things. So I wouldn't sleep on Houston. I'm not convinced about Louisville. So the Challenge Cup is very different to other tournaments in other countries and stuff like that. So what is your favourite part about it? What makes it so special?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I think it's so different to anything any league ever does. And obviously was born out of the pandemic, but it's so fun that they just kept it around. There's so many, honestly. I mean, first of all, it's a tournament. And so everybody loves tournaments. They're just fun. They're fast. They're exciting. And you get wild score lines. And beyond that, the NWSL is a league where any team can beat any team on any given day. And in the Challenge Cup, that's just heightened beyond belief. So it's truly anybody's match. Having said all of that, what I think I most love about the Challenge Cup is that every time we see the Challenge Cup happen, a new talent, like a new player, emerges in the league that none of us have really given enough due credit to. I mean, 2020, it was Rachel Daly. Last time it was, Trinity Rodman really emerged, but there were also, I can't really say that was like an undiscovered talent. But every single year, talent emerges from the league, born out of this Challenge Cup that we hadn't gotten to see yet, and that's what makes it so fun.
See, I think for me, it's the unpredictability. That's what makes it so fun, because you talk about like any team can beat any team, but you do start seeing patterns when the league starts.
Yeah.
But because these games are just quick one-offs, you could see Orlando getting a sneaky goal against one of their teams to progress. You could see Houston Dash get absolutely nothing and crash out. It's one of those things that it's so unpredictable because it's so quick and fast, and it just makes compelling TV, to be honest.
All right, well, that kicks off this Friday, everybody. We've got a weekend of football, NWSL, WSL. Let's go. For the Women's Soccer Show, I have been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.